March 1943. You are 19 years old when the letter arrives. Your mother reads it twice before handing it to you because her hands are shaking too badly to hold the paper steady. Your father fought over Verdun in the last war. He looks at the Luftwaffe eagle stamped across the envelope and says nothing. He already knows what Germany is running out of. Pilots, fuel, time. You report to a flight training school outside Munich 3 weeks later. They give you boots that blister your feet and a flight suit that smells like sweat and engine oil. The instructor tells you that you are joining the finest air force in the world. He doesn't mention that most of the veteran pilots are already dead over Russia or Africa. He doesn't mention that the Americans are coming. By June, you are flying a Messerschmitt Bf Hun-9G with barely 110 flight hours in your logbook. 2 years earlier, Luftwaffe pilots entered combat with more than twice that experience. Germany no longer has that luxury. Fuel shortages mean every training flight is cut short. Gunnery practice is rushed. Some recruits crash before ever leaving Germany. The veterans call your graduating class children with wings. They laugh when you salute them. Most of them have over 100 victories painted on their aircraft noses. September 1943. You arrive in France assigned to Jagdgeschwader 26 near the Pas de Calais. The veterans tell stories about the new American fighter escort. A huge ugly aircraft with 8 machine guns and the appetite of a bomber. They call it the Jug. Flying bathtub. Flying milk bottle. One pilot jokes that the Americans built a refrigerator and put wings on it. Then you see one for the first time. It is climbing through scattered cloud above the channel, sunlight glinting off silver wings. The aircraft looks absurdly massive compared to your Messerschmitt. Thick fuselage, huge radial engine, propeller wider than a truck. It moves slower than you expected, heavy and deliberate. Your Staffelkapitän laughs over the radio. The Americans are sending farm tractors to fight us. You believe him. At briefing that evening, intelligence officers explain the Thunderbolt's weaknesses. Poor climb rate below 20,000 feet, terrible turning ability, heavy controls, too large to dogfight properly. The tactics seem simple. Dive from above, fire once, climb away. Never get caught in a dive because the American aircraft accelerates like falling artillery. Nobody in the room realizes they are describing the aircraft that will destroy the Luftwaffe. October 1943, your first combat mission against Thunderbolts begins at 27,000 feet over Belgium. 40 American B-17 bombers are crossing into Germany with a screen of escorts above them. Your squadron climbs hard to intercept. Then the radio erupts. Thunderbolts above us. You look up and see them diving out of the sun. The P-47s don't turn into dogfights like Spitfires. They attack like hammers dropped from heaven. 4 of them roll inverted and plunge straight through your formation at impossible speed. One flashes past your cockpit so quickly you barely register the white star on its fuselage. Then the firing starts. The sound is unlike anything you have heard in the air before. Not the crack of cannons. Not short machine gun bursts. A continuous ripping roar. 8 Browning machine guns firing together at nearly 6,000 rounds per minute. The Messerschmitt beside you explodes. Not damaged, not spinning away trailing smoke. Explodes. The left wing tears completely off. Fuel ignites instantly. The aircraft tumbles past you in burning fragments. You glimpse the pilot still inside before the fire swallows him whole. The Thunderbolts climb away after one pass using sheer speed and engine power. Your squadron tries to follow, but the Americans are already above you again. That night, the veterans stop laughing about the P-47. November 1943. The Americans keep coming. Every day more bombers, more escorts, more Thunderbolts. You begin hearing stories from other squadrons. Pilots emptying entire cannon loads into P-47s only to watch them continue flying. One Thunderbolt returns to England with half its tail shredded away. Another survives direct 20 NEM hits to the engine. You learn to fear their dives most of all. A Thunderbolt starting from 30,000 feet can reach over 500 miles per hour in a descent. At that speed, your controls stiffen and your vision tunnels. The American pilots dive directly through flak bursts and fighter formations like armored locomotives. They fire one devastating burst and disappear before you can react. December 1943. Your closest friend in the squadron is named Carl Weiss. I'm 22 years old. Former mechanic from Cologne. He keeps a photograph of his fiancée tucked inside his flight jacket. He says he will marry her after the war. Everyone says things like that because nobody wants to admit the war is already slipping away. Carl dies over Bremen. You are flying escort above a formation of Fock, Wolf 190s attacking bombers when Thunderbolts appear from high altitude. Carl breaks left to evade one diving behind him. The American pilot anticipates the move perfectly. The burst lasts less than 2 seconds. You watch 50 caliber rounds walk across Carl's fuselage from engine to tail. The cockpit canopy disappears in red mist. Pieces of wings scatter behind him. The aircraft folds apart in midair before smashing into clouds. No parachute. The Thunderbolt banks upward through the debris field without slowing down. You remember thinking how impossible it looked. Like the American aircraft didn't care about gravity. January 1944, the new Thunderbolts arrive with paddle blade propellers. Suddenly they climb faster, accelerate faster, chase German fighters upward instead of merely diving away. The imbalance in the sky grows worse every week. The Americans, meanwhile, arrive fresh and confident with hundreds of flight hours behind them. February 1944, you finally damage a Thunderbolt. Your squadron catches a lone P-47 separated from its formation near Aachen. 4 German fighters attack together. Cannon shells strike the American aircraft repeatedly. Smoke pours from the engine. Pieces of metal fly from the wings. But it keeps flying. The Thunderbolt dives away toward cloud cover. You follow it down through turbulence and anti-aircraft fire until you are close enough to see the pilot's helmet through the canopy. You fire again. More hits. More smoke. Still it flies. The American pilot turns his massive fighter just enough to bring his guns to bear. 8 Brownings open fire. Tracer rounds slice past your cockpit like burning cables. One strikes your wing root. Another punches through the engine cowling. Warning lights explode across your instrument panel. Suddenly your aircraft smells like gasoline and hot metal. You break away immediately. The Thunderbolt vanishes into cloud. Back at base, the mechanics pull a deformed .50 caliber bullet from behind your seat armor. If it entered 2 centimeters lower, it would have gone through your spine. That night you cannot sleep. March 1944. Berlin orders the Luftwaffe to stop the bombers at all costs. The Americans are destroying aircraft factories, rail lines, fuel plants. Entire cities burn every week. Your squadron flies twice daily now. Sometimes 3 missions in one day. Pilots fall asleep during briefings. Mechanics work until their hands bleed. The Thunderbolts are always there, high above the bombers, below the bombers, waiting above cloud layers, waiting near airfields. You begin understanding something terrifying about American industry. Every P-47 you shoot down is replaced almost immediately. Every German loss feels permanent. One evening your commander gathers the surviving pilots together. There are only 9 left from the original 27. The Americans can lose aircraft. He says quietly, "We cannot lose pilots." Nobody answers because everyone already knows. June 1944, the invasion begins. You wake before dawn to reports of Allied landings in Normandy. Thousands of ships crossing the channel. Paratroopers everywhere. Your squadron scrambles immediately, engines roaring, rain hammering the airfield. The sky over France belongs entirely to the Allies. Thunderbolts patrol every altitude from the beaches to the clouds. You barely reach the coast before American fighters attack your formation. The air becomes chaos, tracers, smoke. Burning parachutes drifting toward flooded fields. A P-47 flashes across your nose carrying bombs beneath its wings. You realize the Americans turned the most heavily armed fighter in the world into a flying artillery platform. German troops below are trapped in daylight because Thunderbolts hunt anything that moves. Thanks. Trucks, horse carts. Entire convoys vanish beneath rockets and machine gun fire. Soldiers begin calling them Jabos with the same dread infantry once reserved for artillery bombardments. August 1944. You are now one of the oldest pilots in the squadron at 20 years old. The veterans are gone. Dead, burned alive. Missing. Captured. New recruits arrive younger every month. Boys with shaking hands and frightened eyes. They ask what combat against Thunderbolts feels like. You don't know how to answer honestly. How do you explain the terror of hearing 8 machine guns tear apart the sky behind you? How do you explain watching aircraft explode from concentrated fire before pilots can even scream? How do you explain fighting an enemy that seems to have endless fuel, endless ammunition, endless aircraft? So you simply tell them this. If you see the Thunderbolt first, you might live. Most of them die anyway. October 1944. American fighters now escort bombers deep into Germany itself. You fly above burning cities almost daily. Cologne, Kassel, Hamburg, places you knew as a child reduced to blackened ruins. During a mission near Leipzig, your squadron intercepts B-24 bombers. Thunderbolts immediately descend from high altitude. One attacks your wingman head-on. Both aircraft fire simultaneously. The German fighter explodes instantly. The Thunderbolt continues flying with half its engine cowling torn away. You stare in disbelief as the damaged American fighter climbs back toward its formation trailing oil smoke. It survives because the machine was designed to survive. Germany no longer builds aircraft like that. January 1945. Snow covers the airfields. Fuel is so scarce pilots sometimes bicycle between bases because trucks cannot operate. Your squadron possesses 12 aircraft. Only 5 can fly. Replacement parts are non-existent. Mechanics salvage components from wrecks frozen into the edges of runways. The Americans still arrive in endless numbers. P-47s now carry rockets, bombs, external fuel tanks. Some are painted completely black for ground attack missions. Others hunt German jets during takeoff and landing because even the Mi-2062 cannot escape them near the ground. You hear stories about Thunderbolts diving fast enough to catch jets. At this point, nothing sounds impossible anymore. March 1945, your final combat mission begins over the Ruhr. You spot the Thunderbolts first this time. 4 silver aircraft cruising low above the river. You dive toward them out of the sun exactly the way instructors taught you 2 years earlier. For one brief moment you think maybe the old tactics still work. Maybe surprise will matter. Then one of the P-47s rolls hard left and climbs directly into your attack. The American pilot sees you immediately. The Thunderbolt grows huge in your windscreen. Massive engine. Broad wings. 8 gun ports staring at you like black holes. The Brownings fire. Your cockpit erupts in noise and shattered glass. The instrument panel disintegrates. Fuel sprays across your legs. Something punches through your shoulder like a hammer. The aircraft rolls uncontrollably. You bail out at less than 2,000 feet. The parachute opens violently. Below you, your Messerschmitt smashes into a field and explodes. The Thunderbolt circles once above the wreck before disappearing westward. You hang beneath the parachute, listening to distant artillery and realizing the war is over. Not officially, not yet, but Germany has already lost the sky. Years later, long after the war ends, you will still remember the sound of the P-47's guns. Not individual shots. A solid mechanical roar. Precise. Relentless, industrialized death fired from a machine too massive to fear gravity and too heavily built to die easily. In 1943, you laughed when you first saw the Thunderbolt. By 1945, nobody in the Luftwaffe was laughing anymore.